There's that little story. Hi guys. So obviously by the title you can tell that I'm doing a story time. This story time is chosen by a lot of people. I'll leave the two little polls up here. So let's just get into it really. So the story about my epilepsy, my first ever seizure in school, starts in year 6. In this video there's going to be lots of left out sort of stuff, mostly because, well, pretty much just because if you have epilepsy you can get memory blanks, and on this day, my first ever seizure, I was having ridiculous memory blanks, and you'll see how and why, I guess, like as you watch into this video. But it started, I remember, I'm trying to recall my memory because it was 5 years ago. I remember I was in class and I think we had English or something like that, and we were doing partner work. And obviously, as you guys know, or people know, that in primary school, if you want to go to the bathroom, you had to take someone with you. And so I was working with my friend Lucy, and she had a little sister, I can't remember her name, but we're just going to call her Emily. And I went to my teacher and asked if I could go to the bathroom with Emily, and the teacher must have just thought that I'd got the two sisters confused, and she's like, oh yeah, go. So I went to the bathroom with Lucy. Here's the thing, as soon as I took a step out of my classroom, I don't remember a single thing. I don't know what happened. I just remember taking a step out of my classroom and blank. That's all I remember. And then the next thing I remember is walking back into the classroom, but Lucy wasn't with me. It was really trippy. And here's the thing, in year 6, obviously schools try to prep you for high school, and in high school you have your subjects in different classes. So what my school did is, what most schools do is, in year 6, few of your classes are in different classrooms, you know, like few of your subjects are in different classrooms. And by the time I got back, a different class was now in my English class, and my class was all the way in music. And so I walked back into this classroom, but because I left with my stuff there, I grabbed my stuff and sat down with this class to learn. And it was really weird. And I remember the teacher started asking me, like, what are you doing? You're not in this class, what are you doing? And then she started yelling at me, and I was standing there with my hands shaking. And I remember I physically could not open my mouth. I couldn't move it, I couldn't talk, so I couldn't tell what was going on. Like, I just physically, my mouth would not open, and I was just standing blank into space, standing there holding my stuff with my arms shaking. Then eventually she screamed at me, telling me to get out. And then so I put my stuff down on the table and sprinted out of the classroom crying. As soon as I got out of my classroom, my teacher had found me. She'd realized where I was and went back to come get me. And as soon as I exited the class, like as soon as I left the classroom, I could talk again. And my teacher was asking me, like, what's wrong? And I couldn't tell her because I didn't know what was going on with me. So she took me to the principal's office to see if, like, maybe I talked to the principal. Really mad at this. The principal was being ridiculously rude to me. She told me that I'm just attention seeking. For what reason would a 12-year-old girl want to attention seek? Why would I? How is what I was doing anyway, shape or form, or attention seeking? So she tried to call my mum because she was like, oh, if you won't talk to me, you'll talk to your mum at least. My mum and I got into an argument that morning. So when I called my mum, and my mum was constantly asking me, like, what's wrong? Why are you acting like this? You know, I could not say anything except for the words, I don't know, because I did not know what was happening to my body right now. And my mum was like, oh, you're just being ridiculous, go back to class. Because she had never, mind you, during this point in time, I wasn't diagnosed with epilepsy. We had no idea that I had it. This is the first time anything like this had ever happened. She was just like, oh, you're being ridiculous, go back to class. But the principal told me to sit in here for the entire day until I decided to own up to me just attention seeking. And I was like, okay. I remember sitting there like, I'm not. So I ended up sitting in the principal's office for an entire day. And I thought I was sitting in a chair the entire day in her office while she was talking to other students and all that sort of stuff. And I remember I was sitting in the very corner in this chair and I felt like I was getting tired. I thought I was getting tired, but I ended up passing out. However, I was passed out, leaning on a chair with my head like this with my eyes shut the entire time. So it just looked like I was sleeping. You know, the principal had no idea. I remember like sort of like slightly my eyes would like open up again, and like she would be with like a different student like every fucking time. Like I'd just been passed out on this chair for probably an hour or so. Pretty much, right, she ended up saying to me, and I was past, "You're still awake, I'm just gonna go for a moment." And I just didn't really respond. And while she was gone, I remember I was still like going in and out of it. Like I was passed out for like ages, and no one must have realized. It looked like I was sleeping. I remember like in movies when people pass out, you know how they see stars? I didn't think that was an actual thing. I just thought that's something they did to create an emotion in movies, or like, you know, create an understanding or something like that. I literally saw stars. And I remember I ended up falling like this and out of the chair and banged my head on the floor, and I was still going in and out and like passing out this entire time. And I remember like slightly feeling like vomit or something like that. I was so unaware of what was happening with my body. It was like my brain had shut down. And then the next thing I remember is that they had to clear out everyone in sick bay, and the paramedics were there trying to keep me conscious and wake me up. And then apparently what happened is that the principal had walked in to see me having a seizure whilst I was laying on my back throwing up. So I was having a seizure and choking on my own vomit, which is very disgusting, but really seriously dangerous. I'll get a little bit more into that later because I kind of want this video to be a bit of an educational thing as well. Just, you know, you'll see how. Oh. They ended up, once I was conscious, the way that the school is like developed or made is that you can act like, it's like a driveway into the school, and you have the entire front of the school and you have the office. My class is directly next to the office. It's like a doorway from the classroom into the office. It's like, anyways, so cars can actually drive into the school and park right outside the front of the office, in front of a few amount of classrooms, mind you. Kids are also allowed to hang out in this area at lunch. That's just this happened to be an area where some kids around my age or in my grade happened to hang out in. I woke up with the paramedics in sickbay at lunchtime and the ambulance was parked inside the school. And obviously, if you're in primary school and you see an ambulance coming in, everyone's gonna be there and be like, "Oh my god, what's happening, what's happening?" This wasn't a huge school. Like, it was a decent sized school, but it wasn't a huge school. You know, there was, I'm pretty much everyone was there from my memory. And especially everyone that I knew. The paramedics are carrying me down the stairs, okay? Like, you know, like that thing, how like, I don't really know how to explain it. They were carrying me down the stairs. And I look, and my crush, the guy that I really, really liked in year 6, is standing right there, right, just right there. And I'm thinking, kill me now. That was probably the most embarrassing part of this thing, is that like I had a huge crush on this guy, and I'm pretty sure he thought I was a giant ass weirdo. That's just my memory of it. I'm pretty sure he thought I was weird. And then now he's watching me getting carried down fucking stairs with paramedics on my fucking arms because I could not walk. And we got into the ambulance and I must have been passing out again, like going in and out of it again, because I don't remember the drive to the hospital. I don't remember it. As soon as we got in the ambulance, I don't remember a thing. And then we got to the hospital, and the next thing I remember, this is the first thing I remember after getting to the ambulance, is that they were carrying me out on those beds, and the ones with the wheels on it. And I remember seeing my mum. I was laying on my back. I remember seeing my mum on the side of me with the principal, and I'd never seen my mum's face like so scared in her life. It was really scary. Like, I remember, like, you know how like have you ever gone to hospital, right? And you just sort of think to yourself like, oh, I'll be okay, it's fine. You know, I was feeling like that. I didn't know what was happening. I was like, it's fine, you know, we'll just fucking, I'll get to hospital, it'll all be good. And then I see my mum's face and I'm like, oh shit, it's bad. I was like, something's wrong. We got in to the hospital, and obviously, as everyone should know, that if you are passing out in any scenario, to the point, like just in any scenario, people should be asking you questions to see how conscious you are, hoping that you'll answer them right. This was the weirdest part for me, is that they started, like I was saying before, I was getting memory blanks, but they started asking me questions like, I remember, these are the ones I remember specifically. What grade are you in? I was in grade 6. I said grade 4. They asked me what school I went to. I said the school I went to in year 4, even though I changed schools. And they asked me who my friends were. I had a group, like a big group of friends at my new school, but in year 4, my 3 best friends were girls called Chloe, Anya and Shabby. And I laid there, said I was in year 4, I went to this school, and my friends were Chloe, Anya and Shabby. It was like, my mind had gone back in time. Like, I was not in year 6, I was in year 4. Like, it was really weird. And they even asked where I lived, and I gave my old address. That was the weirdest part for me. I'd never really experienced, and like, I remember, like, even after I said it, I realized myself, I was like, wait, no, that's wrong. And it was really confusing for me. I didn't know what was happening. And so they took me in, and we got there. I just remember them giving me a drip, I'm pretty sure. And they were just sort of trying to keep me conscious this entire time. I don't really remember much except just ending up staying in the hospital. And by the end of it, they said that it was either a really big anxiety attack, because I have anxiety, or it was a seizure. They weren't quite sure, because I think it had something to do with like just my level of anxiety and stress at that point in time was ridiculously high. So there was a good percentage that it could have been that, rather than just just a seizure on its own. I didn't go to school for 3 weeks, I think it was, just for obviously health and safety reasons, because it's best because nothing like this had ever happened before, and this one was actually really bad. Like, there were things that I didn't even remember. After the 3 weeks, when I got back to school, people started to fill me in on the memory blanks that I was having. Remember how I told you that as soon as I took a step out of my classroom, I don't remember anything? Apparently, I got lost in the school. That's according to it was according to one of the girls in my group. That would probably explain, I think maybe Lucy got freaked out and didn't know what to do. That would explain why she wasn't with me when I got back. It was just really weird. I don't know, like, how to put it, except like I was just told that I got lost in the school. And that's really sort of freaky when you think about it. Like, after this had all happened, I was really pissed off at the principal, the fact that she thought that I was attention seeking. Like, I don't think that's okay. And at that point in time, I did sit there and say, I hope she feels bad about it, because I just did. I don't think she handled the situation in a way that a person should have, at all. She was very rude. I was also a new student to this school, so it was a very unwelcoming feeling by this principal during this point in time, and it was just really weird. But I want this to be educational, because the things that I just mentioned, the symptoms that I was getting, I couldn't talk, I physically couldn't open my mouth, my body was shaking. If someone is acting really strange, like with their body, or they're doing really odd things that is unlike them, and if you ask them why and they say the words I don't know, or I can't tell you, or anything relating to those words, you need to sit them down and take some breaths, because people were thinking that I was attention seeking when I wasn't. I was actually having a seizure. Just to take these symptoms, or take these bodily actions or anything, and sort of keep them in your back of your head, just in case anything like this happens to someone else, and so you sort of have an idea what to do. If someone does ever have a seizure, this little disclaimer is for people who don't know this. If you're with someone and they ever have a seizure, make sure you roll them on the side. Do not, never ever keep them on their stomach or their back. It always has to be laying on their side, and because if you have a seizure, you either pee or you either throw up. Throwing up's the worst one, obviously, because if you're on your back like I was and throwing up, you're going to choke. That's why you have to lay them on their side so that it's not, so that they won't choke on it or anything bad will happen to them, and you immediately have to call the ambulance. I'm going to add a little funny bit into this, or like, it's not really funny, it's just sort of like a bit like, okay, bit like strange, but I was in year 6, and at this point in time, year 7 wasn't high school, it was still primary school. So we had 7s there, and my little sister was in year 2, year 1. She was in year 1 or year 2, okay? She was young. And this girl in year 7 had a younger brother in the same grade and class as my little sister. And my little sister said something to this guy that maybe she shouldn't have said. And pretty much this little boy went back to his older sister and told his sister. And so when I got back, this year 7 girl said that she's glad I had a seizure. I was really upset by it at the point in time, but now I'm just kind of like, I didn't even do anything. Like, it wasn't even me. I don't know what I did. It was something my little sister said, and she said that she's glad I had a seizure over it. You can die from seizures, I just want people to know that. If someone falls and hits their head hard enough, you can kill yourself. After that, everything seemed to be fine, and then I think it was year 7 or year 8, like about halfway through year 7, we, every time I was in the car and the sun would hit my eyes, my eyes would roll back into my head and my arms would start shaking, like from my upper body and up would start to shake. We didn't know what it was. This happened every single day. It got to the point where I was walking, and like if I was just walking and the sun got in my eye, I would have a little fit until the sun was no longer in my eyes. And so my mum took me to a GP and they referred me to a specialist. So I saw a specialist, we did EEGs, brain scans, MRIs, all that sort of stuff, and we later found out that I am diagnosed with generalized epilepsy. Generalized epilepsy means that you can have one at any given moment, like all seizures are triggered by something. Generalized epilepsy is, but it's also a chance of having one at any given moment. Mine's controlled with medication, so I'm all good now. We found that out. This is really funny. I don't know if this is going to start beef if I say this, but there's this girl. Okay, I'm not going to say her name, but there's this girl. There's a YouTuber that I love that knows this girl very well. There's this girl and she made fun of me last year. She made some petty comment about my epilepsy. And calm as a bitch, because I shouldn't be laughing at this because I know how much it sucks to have epilepsy, but she found out recently that she has it. And I'm sorry, I shouldn't be laughing, but calm as a bitch. She made fun of me for it last year. She made fun of me for being diagnosed with epilepsy, and this year karma hit her real hard and gave it to her. So there's that little story. I hope you guys enjoyed this at least. I hope I made it educational in a way. I hope you guys took something back from it. And don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you can do all 4 of them, my heart's with you. If you don't, totally good. Try and at least do 1. And you guys will see me on Wednesday. Bye.